What's up YouTube, Capital G here, letting you guys know what the heck happened at YCS London 2017. I spent a good portion of my weekend following the coverage, watching the live stream and the feature matches so that you guys didn't have to. I think that YCS London can best be described and wrapped up like this. This is an event that if you probably just looked at the written coverage and you just looked at the event on paper, you say that it probably followed the meta to a T. You didn't really think that this event was anything but standard, but if you actually watch the event, if you watch the tournament, you know that there were so many shocks and surprises throughout the weekend. The biggest one, and I don't want to skip too far ahead in my talking points, but I think that we have to tackle the biggest one, guys, and it's what everybody in the Yu-Gi-Oh community is talking right now about Burning Abyss making it not only into the top 32, but making it as far as the fucking top 8. This guy was 2 wins away from being in the finals with Burning Abyss. Like, that's impossible. I mean, you think about the archetype, you think about all the hits that it's had in the past, you think about Master Rule 4 and how much Link monsters actually hurt Burning Abyss and how they don't have that monster from the Link Frames pack, and yet a 16-year-old kid said, nope, I am finding a way to get this deck as far as it can go, and he made it just, you know, a couple of wins from being in the finals. I watched this this profile on Lithium's channel, which, by the way, if you guys have not checked out the deck profiles on Lithium, you are just doing yourself a disservice. Watch these videos, they're excellent. The kid definitely knew what he was doing, and I'll talk a little bit more about Burning Abyss, but I think everybody is just in awe of Burning Abyss and how adaptive it actually is. People say that Dante never dies, and I guess this is just another example, man. That guy dodges the ban list and he finds a way to make it into every format. Another big surprise, for me at least, was the attendance of YCS London. You guys know in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, it seems like the players at nauseum just talk about how much they hate Tier 0 formats, and I'm pretty much in that too. I kind of try to avoid Tier 0 formats like the plague. I'm talking about like playing IRL at regionals and stuff like that. If I know that we're knee deep in a Tier 0 format, I'm just like, oh man, okay, I'll take this 6 months off, so I'll wait till a new ban list comes out, then I'll start playing at events. And it's pretty clear and evident that Spirals are the best deck in the meta. Whether you look at the breakdown from Dallas, whether you look at the breakdown from YCS London, everybody knows that Spirals are the best deck right now, and you'd expect the attendance maybe to just start dipping, but no, that's not what happened. In fact, it was the exact opposite. Over 1,300 players end up showing up and registering for the event, and to put that in the context for you guys, that is over 200 more players than were at YCS Dallas, and YCS Dallas was already a very big event, so it doesn't really seem to matter that, you know, like 90% of the meta is Spyral in the TCG and the OCG. The you know, the attendance is not going down apparently, and I just find that to be a little bit amazing. But I do think that this is an event that I think the community might be a little split on, because I feel like there are 2 narratives that can be taken away from this event, and I don't even think that they're actual stretches, right? So let's go to the top 32. It's kind of what you'd expect. Obviously, you know, Spyral is still dominating. 27 in the top 32, which I have not done the math, but I believe that's about 80%. Correct me if I am wrong. You've got Pendulum Magicians that actually showed up for this event. You guys know that Trickstar were the second hot deck at YCS Dallas, taking up a couple of spots in top 32. Pendulum Magicians really didn't do anything at Dallas as far as making the top cut, but, you know, they got 3 players here. As I just talked about before, you had Burning Abyss making it in the top 8, and then you had Invoked making it in the top 8. So I think that one of the narratives could be taken away from this event that, okay, clearly Spirals are still Tier 0. We got to start working on that emergency ban list, because the deck is just taking too much of the top cut. It's taking, you know, 25 plus every single event, but at the same time, I feel like people who had a little bit of optimism, who said, wait a minute, guys, we have 2 YCSs in back-to-back weeks. Let's see if people start making adjustments. Let's see if people can, maybe the second time around, take down the Spyral deck. And the number did drop, guys. That's not my opinion. That's just a fact. Now, was it a huge drop from 29 at YCS Dallas to 27 at YCS London? No, I wouldn't say that it was a huge drop, but the number is dropping. And at some point, you just have to wonder, where as a Spyral player, if you go into an event knowing you do have the best deck, but that, you know, people are main decking as much as a quarter of their deck in hand traps just to stop your deck from doing what it wants to do, at some point I just kind of feel like that target on your back becomes too much for you to bear. And it's like, man, do I really want to go into every single match knowing that, you know, my opponent is going to play the Droll and Lockbird, or maybe lock me out of a turn, or they're going to play Winter Cherries, and now I have my entire duel without my double helix. I think at some point Spyral players are just like, man, we have the best deck, but everybody and their mama is just gunning for it. So I mean, this could be another Zodiac situation, guys, where this deck dominates for, you know, an entire format. But I think that I don't think we got any closer to answering the question of, do we need an emergency ban list, you know, immediately right now? Because the optimists are saying the numbers are going down, but the people who are saying we still need that tier 0 ban list are saying, look, bro, 27, 29, basically the same number. We need something to help out the rest of us. Now, I just want to go ahead and applaud the coverage that the EU Konami does. If you guys watch this event, if you guys read the coverage, my lord, it's so much better than what we get over here in North America. It's actually ridiculous. You think that this is two different card games. I find myself talking about that in every single what the heck happened at, you know, a European YCS event. In fact, these guys actually, like, let's just say you were living under a rock and you didn't know what happened at YCS Dallas. The first thing that they do in their coverage, you know, outside of welcoming you to the event here, is they give you a quick recap as to what happened at Dallas, so you can be caught up to speed. Let's say that you haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh in a year. You already know that somehow, some way, you know, Spyral are the best deck in the meta, and by these numbers, they're apparently tier 0. So when you watch the first match, Spyral v Spyral, you're not like, what the hell is going on? This table 500 deck is, you know, what they're featuring. I just think that that's kind of amazing. So another thing that I did notice about this event is the suspicious absence of Cyframe Gear Gamma. I don't know if you guys were watching the matches, but I just I wasn't actually seeing that many Gammas, and this is a card that I've experimented a lot with on my live stream. The card is very good, we know that. I would say that Cyframe Gear Gamma's upside is probably only second to like Max C. Like I'm talking about the absolute ceiling of this card. The fact that you can activate it turn 1 if you like activate a Desires, your opponent ends up using an Ash forehead or something like that. You Gamma that forehead, and then bam, you could possibly have an Omega on field, take away a card out of your opponent's hand, and have a big monster coming back as well, and potentially, in that one situation, put some of your cards back from Desires into your graveyard with the Omega's effect, as long as it stays on the field. But people just really weren't running this card. I think that they were more focused around, I guess, what we can call the big four right now, which obviously would be Ash Forehead, Max C, Ghost Ogre, and Droll and Lockbird. I think that Cyframe Gamma might find itself as the odd man out. Now, DD Crow is a little different because it does see play in Spirals because it's searchable. I think the biggest problem with Gamma right now, and I think that it does make a lot of sense in Invoked, because in Invoked, if you lose your driver early, it's not that big of a deal to draw extra copies of Gamma because you can banish them from Invocation. The Invoke deck already wants to go into Macabre because it's light, and you know, Gamma's light, so you have a lot of utility there. But I think one of the bigger problems with Gamma is there's so many decks in the meta running Pot of Desires. It seems like every deck in the meta that's name isn't Spyral is basically putting Pot of Desires as a staple, and I've had duels where I had that exact situation happen. I activate Pot of Desires, my opponent uses Forehead, I try and use Gamma on it, and oops, I banish my driver in that Pot of Desires, and it's like, just kill me now, I can't use my card, and I end up losing the duel. I also thought that this Invoked build was extremely good. No offense to Deception. I think his pretty much anti-Spyral Invoke deck was pretty cool. The deck that he topped with YCS Dallas with last week, he made top 32. But I actually watched this video and I thought that this one was just more consistent, a lot less gimmicky. Another crazy thing that I did notice about YCS London, guys, and you saw it in the Trickstar deck at YCS Dallas last week. we're starting to see Scapegoat come out, man. Scapegoat is starting to be played in these decks. If you guys don't know, during the end phase, you flip over Scapegoats. I believe the combo is you make a couple of Link Spiders plus a Mrs. Radiant with your 4 goat tokens. You go into Borolo Dragon. Borolo Dragon, from what I hear and from what I've seen in the feature matches, it is a problem for Spirals to deal with. They cannot deal with that card very easily, especially considering its effect cannot be chained to. Like, you can't really stop it. So even if they hypothetically were to draw something like a Solemn Strike after you have the Borreload on field, it's not one of those cards where, okay, I'll just wait for him to activate the effect and then I'll strike it. And then, you know, it's just a really hard card to defend with. They can't target it with monster effects. So even like the sleeper with a fully armed just doesn't do anything. Also, Borreload can just take that monster, right? Because Borreload doesn't target. So you guys are starting to see Scapegoats come out, and I'm not going to scroll through the video to find the Scapegoats. Just watch this. Go ahead and watch this and you guys will find out. Now, Trickstars weren't completely left out in the cold. They did have an event called the Mega Regional. This is something that is new to me, and I guess it's new to the YCS event. It says right here, the Mega Regional is a rather new addition to the public event schedule, and actually Trickstars ended up winning. So it seems like kind of everybody got into it. It's not as good as, you know, making the top 32 of the YCS, but it shows you that Trickstars didn't completely fall off the end of the earth. And I don't know, I think that this was an event where Spyral still showed that they're the top deck, but I think that hand traps are just becoming so prevalent in the meta that the Spyral pop-offs are starting to be less and less frequent. I mean, yeah, there are still going to be times where Spirals don't open with that amazing, or excuse me, when the opposing player doesn't open with the hand trap and Spirals can kind of go off, but you're seeing every deck in the meta basically adapt to Spirals. This is the second event in a row, so now it's not even a blip. This is now a pattern that everybody's maining hand traps, everybody's main decking Droll and Lockbird, everybody's main decking Ghost Ogre to hit the Helix, to hit the Spiral Resort so that you don't get your search, so that you don't get that protection. And I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think ultimately the big takeaway is? Do you guys still believe that we need that emergency ban list like immediately, or do you guys think that, you know, the meta is starting to try and figure itself out? Spirals are, I mean, I wouldn't say that they're, you know, dropping like flies or anything like that, but the numbers are slightly dropping. Now, this could be completely wrong. We could end up having a YCS after this if there is no new ban list, and Spirals could go up to like 30 or, you know, 31, and it'd be like, all right, well, clearly we were wrong. We were on the wrong side of the argument. That's still a possibility. So whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. If I missed any other talking points or anything interesting from YCS London 2017, also feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and of course, turn on that notification bell for daily videos.